Well, good evening, cousins. Tonight it's old school. No intro music, no bumper music, probably no visuals. Many of you have said, and I appreciate it very much. It's very humbling and very inspiring, actually. Many of you have compared late night in the heartland to the old days of Art Bell, and we're doing everything we can to try to approach that standard of excellence. So tonight we are on the road. We are in Rapid City, South Dakota. We are internet bandwidth challenged tonight. So we're going to be doing our very best. We won't be on Odyssey tonight. Because, well, it looks like we are on Odyssey tonight. I wonder how that happened. I'm not sure if it'll play on Odyssey or not, but we are on Rockfin. I'm almost positive of that. We're on Odyssey, it looks like. We're on Twitter. We are on Twitch, and we're on YouTube. Tonight, we should be able to stay on YouTube. It looks that way. I think that. I'm not positive, but we're very, very happy to be with you. You know, you call yourself the mailman, and it's easy to say rain, snow, sleet, dark of night, nothing will keep you from your appointed rounds. And then you go and you get in an RV with 2 dogs and a pretty girl, and you travel 12 hours. And, well, unforeseen things happen, folks. Unforeseen things happen. Last night, I'm not an expert RV driver by any means. And last night, I got myself into a little bit of a pickle driving the RV. Took about an hour to extricate ourselves from it. And by the time that I had extracted myself from a very tight and sticky situation, why it was too late to get on the radio for any broadcast excellence. But tonight, we were here early. We were here ready. I did all the testing. We weren't able to get everything going like we wanted to. We don't have the photo, the visual to bring you. And we're going to be doing this a little bit old school style, but that's okay. And we always start with the CNN. And I missed the catchy, already missed the catchy CNN headline news. Not that one, guys. The Cousins News Network. I already missed the catchy intro. I missed the catchy music of CNN. But you know what? We don't have it. So we're going to press on. And I'm doing it old school. I'm pulling up the CNN on my cell phone. And then I'm reading it because I don't want to take up the bandwidth. Yeah, you know, it's just one of those things, folks. We got to do it. We got to do it. But I want the cousins to send in news items, things of interest. All you have to do is go to jeffreydarty.com, click on the contact button. You can send it that way, or you can send it to Jeffrey at jeffreydarty.com, and you will also be able to send me stuff in that fashion, and we really appreciate it. All of these items that I send to you, that I talk about on CNN, they do come by way of the Cousins News Network. It's the Cousins News Network. I'm Jeffrey Darty, the Christian whistleblower, your mailman, reporting live from Rapid City, South Dakota. A chilly Rapid City, South Dakota. We're in the mid 50s, maybe low 50s. It's chilly out here, folks. It is chilly, trust me. So here we go. What do we got? Cousins News Network. We're struggling just a little bit with this, but we will be okay. Colleen sends me a lot of fascinating, interesting things, and she gives us a follow-up on the Gabby Petito, the amazing Gabby Petito extravaganza we did on Monday night. Also, Colleen reminds us that the all-seeing eye is on her shirt. The government uses it on their money. And Colleen says they're watching us and they know who we are. The whole Gabby thing is a threat to us to shut up or they will take us out. I responded simply, I agree with you. And if you didn't see that Gabby Petito show, you've got to go back and watch it. And especially the end where we uncovered from, I think it was Pyramid that sent us the receipts, ladies and gentlemen, the receipts that Gabby Petito is confirmed to be, and I know this upsets some of you, but it's just the way it is. Gabby Petito is confirmed to be a crisis actor, crisis actress. Back in the days of the SH school that we can't talk about because we're on YouTube, she was seen featured in a video about that event. And if you have interest in that event, we also have a video on our Rockfin channel. I think it's on our Odyssey. It's on one of our Odyssey channels, and you've just got to see it. Two Trees encourages us to buy your goods, anything coming from China that you plan to buy for the foreseeable future now, because China is closing down soon. Ooh, wow. Strong words from Two Trees, who's not one to wax into fear porn. So, very interesting. If you're getting stuff out of China, you might want to go ahead and get it. And I'll just mention, since we're at that place in the program, we're working with it's preparewithdarty.com, My Patriot Supply. They have 25% off a full 30-day supply of food. And folks, I'm not talking about 2 whiffs of a saltine cracker and half a thimble of Gatorade. I'm talking about, I've got half of it under my desk back at home. Half of that 30-day supply weighs about 35 pounds. So you're talking about a lot of food, a lot of nourishment. And the time to have it is not when you need it. The time to have it is before you need it. Better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. And remember, it's not just because of China. You could have weather. You could have, all sorts of things. Just look at the news. So you can go to preparewithdarty.com, preparewithdarty.com, and get that 25% off from My Patriot Supply. And like I said, good stuff. Good stuff. I got this from U.S. Law, the 2A Times, and it talks about President Biden saying we can ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines in this country once again. I got that done when I was a senator. It passed. It was the law for the longest time, and it brought down these killings. We should do it again. It's not even true. But the fact of the matter is, try to make it true. Biden will try to come after the most precious part of our rights. And somebody says, well, Jeff, the First Amendment is more important than the Second Amendment. Might I share with you, as I sit here today wearing a t-shirt, a long sleeve t-shirt that says the Second Amendment, the original home. May I remind you that if you don't have the Second Amendment, you don't have the ability to defend your First Amendment. The Second Amendment is the one that gives you the ability to defend the others. As Tracy Dyer says, without the second, there is no first. And the first is, at the very least, superfluous without the Second Amendment. And Cynthia says the second guarantees the first. Obviously, people thinking along the same line. So I don't care if you have a gun or not. You've got to get ready. You've got to get ready. You've got to think about it. From the Epoch Times, thousands of New York healthcare workers are placed on unpaid leave, and they face firing over swimming mandates. We hear of a pandemic shortage in healthcare. So what is the solution of the People's Republic of New York? Fire the healthcare workers that have worked their way all the way through current madness, that have braved this current madness, that have emerged healthy and strong and remain dedicated during this current madness. Let's take them and fire them, because they won't bow to this current madness. It makes no sense whatsoever. It makes no sense whatsoever. But yet it makes all the sense in the world, because we know what it's all about. Folks, it's time to stand up. It is time to be counted. It's time to be counted. Republican lawmakers are questioning the attacks on ivermectin as an effective treatment for the current madness. A group of Republican lawmakers, sorry, I lost the connection here for a minute. A group of Republican lawmakers is supporting doctors who advocate for the right to use ivermectin, an expensive anti-parasitic drug for the treating of the Cootie-19. There's a big problem with ivermectin, folks, and it's right there in that sentence. If you didn't hear what's wrong with ivermectin, you're not paying attention. The problem with ivermectin, didn't you see it? It's inexpensive. How are they supposed to make any money with an inexpensive drug? How are they supposed to make any money with an inexpensive drug? Come on. They got to eat. You know they got to eat. Why are you so, what is wrong with you people? You can't see that you can't use ivermectin because it's inexpensive and it's way too effective. We saw on our great, oh, this was powerful, the Daybreaker show, that modern medicine is not about cures. Come on. Modern medicine is about repeat business. And you've got to have repeat business, and you've got to have repeat business that's very profitable. How are you going to have that with an inexpensive drug? What's wrong with you people? All you care about is getting well. All you care about is people's health. What about the bottom line of the healthcare professionals? What about the bottom line of Big Pharma? What are they going to do? How do you expect them to maintain their billionaire, multimillionaire lifestyles? What's wrong? You're so cruel. You don't want the heads of these pharma companies and the highfalutin sales reps, you don't want them to have their multi-million-dollar lifestyle. You are so insensitive. You are such a terrible person. You're really selfish. You should rethink your position on this, because obviously you only think of yourself. You're not thinking about these poor healthcare workers. You're not thinking about these poor big pharma workers. What are they supposed to do if they can't make the money that they've been making? What are they supposed to do if they can't support themselves in the lifestyle to which they become accustomed? Brighteon, and I'm getting to like Brighteon more and more. Brighteon is reporting that New York has initiated medical martial law, a rollout with troops to take over hospitals. The medical martial law takeover of society has begun in New York, where Pelosi family member Governor Kathy Hochul has announced the mass firing of healthcare workers who refuse to go swimming. And she's replacing them with foreign workers and National Guard troops. The same pattern of replacing civilian workers with military troops will be replicated across law enforcement, paramedics, firefighters, truck drivers, factory workers, and other sectors of the economy that are rapidly collapsing due to the Cootie-19 lockdown restrictions. We are witnessing, and this has legs, folks. We are witnessing a fast-moving military takeover of society under the cover of a state of emergency following personnel shortages that are actually caused by the government's own policies. All Australia will be North Korea, and you can follow the logic train after that. Folks, it's getting serious. It's getting real. It's time to stop playing. It's time to stop pretending. It is getting real, and it's time for us to start stepping up. What did I send myself? I sent myself, I talk about optimization across all paradigms. And one of the optimization things I talk about, one of the centers of optimization that I talk about is physical optimization. And over the past year, now into about 15 months, I've lost almost 70 pounds of fat, have gained many pounds of muscle, look better than I probably ever have in my life at 58 years old. So I'm very, very interested in physical optimization. And, you know, the traditional stuff, all these people that call themselves experts, none of that worked for me. But I found something that worked for me. It's called Get Your Fat Ass Off the Couch and do some Igor Watinko calisthenic workouts, eat nothing but meat. It's called keto carnivore. Oh, it doesn't work, Jeff. Really? How come you're fat and I'm looking better than I ever have? I'm just asking the question. But I don't think that I know everything. And there's a guy right now, and this is not about this guy. In fact, I'm not even going to say his name because it triggers so many people. There's a guy right now who's 44 years old, and he's playing the toughest position in professional sports, and he's playing it better than it's ever been played. And he's 44 years old. And he has a regimen that's pretty similar to that which you've heard Ian Jacklin talk about, and you've heard Ian Jacklin's doctor friend, who I forget his name now. In fact, this athlete sent that doctor a thank you note after his latest victory in his sports championship game. So it's worth noting, and it's worth keeping yourself open to possibilities. So I am keeping myself open to the possibility that maybe, you know, I've been tremendously optimized over the past 15 months during doing particular things, that it's important to continue to look for more things and to understand more things and look in different places. So I'll be reporting to you on that as we do it. This comes from my hometown paper, the St. Pete Times. Well, it was the St. Pete Times. Now it's called the Tampa Bay Times. And every day I read it, I say I'm gonna cancel it. But being an investigative journalist, I have to do it. And today, here's something. This is disclosure. And disclosure is not about little green men, and it's not about spinning balls, and it's not about foolishness from NASA. Disclosure is about things like this. This is disclosure. And listen to this headline from the Tampa Bay Times. It says, Florida protected nursing homes from COVID lawsuits. Think about that. Florida protected nursing homes from COVID lawsuits. The state protected nursing homes from COVID lawsuits. And may I say, Ron DeSantis' state. Then, and this is the headline, then cases began to spike. The immunity law has curbed COVID-19 lawsuits against long-term care facilities. Think about this. The state of Florida made a deal to make it damn near impossible to bring lawsuits against a long-term care facility over COVID-19 deaths. We all know what happened in New York. We all know what happened, obviously, in Florida. And do you think this doesn't show premeditation? Look, we're going to bring in COVID patients to nursing homes where we obviously have some of the most susceptible individuals to flu-like pathogens. And we got to make sure that we give them protection before we do so. Can you believe that they did this? Earlier this year, Florida passed a law. Ron DeSantis' Florida passed a law that gave healthcare providers, including nursing homes and other long-term care facilities, sweeping protection from COVID-19 related lawsuits intended to prevent a flood of litigation overwhelming the healthcare system. Since when does the healthcare system care about litigation? I thought it was about making people sick, or it is about making people sick. I thought it was supposed to be about making people well and keeping people well. Well, the State Bill 72 raised the bar for individuals seeking to sue care homes for virus-related damages or industries. Excuse me. It raised the bar for individuals seeking to sue senior care homes for virus-related damages, injuries, or death. So your dad's in a nursing home. They won't let you come visit him, but they bring in COVID patients He gets sick, he dies, you can't sue. Blatant malpractice, but you can't sue them for malpractice. And the legislation, this is from the Tampa Bay Times, the legislation which Governor Ron DeSantis signed into law. Florida has experienced an unprecedented surge in cases in recent months, and nursing homes faced outbreaks that have previously opened facilities up to litigation. They knew it was going to happen. They knew that they had been sued before over the similar circumstances. So what did Ron DeSantis, the one that you Trumpers love and the ones that have left the Trump train, you're now on the DeSantis train. When are you silly wabbits going to learn? When are you going to learn? It's all a game. I don't care about 2022. I don't care about 2024. I care about convincing you not to be following a whore anymore. We are officially in Stalin territory, ladies and gentlemen. Do you know what that means? Stalin said, it doesn't matter who votes. It matters who counts the votes. They do not care anymore who you vote for. They don't care if you do vote. What did Biden say before the last election? He said, I don't need you during the election. I need you after. And then some of you really thought that the California recall was going to work. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? You're acting very, very unsophisticated. The day of politics is over. And yes, I was big into politics last time because I love my country and I'm a fighter and I saw a chance, what I thought was a chance. But there was such a great liar. It doesn't matter if they cheated in California, Tracy. You knew they were going to cheat. You marry a whore and then she cheats on you and you're surprised? We know there is no more free elections. There's no more free elections. Wake up and realize politics is over. You will never change anything by being a part of this system again. The system has to come down. In the words of Al Davis, the system must come down and it must come down hard. That's the only way. That's the only way. That's it. That's it. And until you wake up and realize that, you will just be paying good money to get screwed by cheap whores. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. What do I have here from GEA? GEA says, oh, that's right. This is so incredible. Did you see this video of who was this? This is the new, I think this was the new governor of New York. I can't open it up because of my limitations here on bandwidth, but the governor of New York, I believe it was the governor of New York, she goes to this mega church and starts telling everybody that God is on the side of those that go swimming. God is a swimmer. And you know what? She's right. She's right. The God of Judaism, the God of Christianity, both Roman Protestant and Roman Catholic, the Judeo-Christian God is for this because his people started it. I've proven that to you as well in the past few days on this network. Which network, you say? Well, the Global Enlightenment Radio Network, of course, duh. And also on Twitch and on Twitter and on Odyssey and on our go-to platform, Rockfin. And every now and then, as we can, on YouTube. You're watching me on YouTube. Jeff, I can never find your videos on YouTube. That's because I delete them. I delete them. almost every one of them gets deleted right afterwards, just like this one will, because we talk about things that we can't talk about on YouTube. Well, why do you even stay on YouTube? Well, we stay on YouTube because we have 1,500 people that watch every video. And I am in the business to help people and to touch people, to reach people. And who knows how many of that 1,500 migrate to our other platforms, which are growing and booming. So we will stay on YouTube as long as we can. Most of it's going to get deleted. You'll have to go to Odyssey. You'll have to go to Rockfin. You'll have to go to the Global Enlightenment Radio Network in order to find this information archived. And that's just how it works, folks. That is just how it works. This is great stuff. Back to the Gabby Petito thing. I mean, it's just it beggars description. It's beyond belief. It's beyond belief. We discovered during it was a live realization. Now, we don't have revelations around here because revelations are secondhand, hand me down, mama bird barfing into baby bird's beak, or sometimes daddy bird barfing into baby bird's beak. You're the baby birds that go to listen to the channels and go and listen to the churches, and mama bird or daddy bird come in. I got something from God. They barf into your beak. You eat it up. That's exactly what you're doing. That's called a revelation, and it is exactly what it is. It is exactly what it sounds like. However, we get realizations. What's a realization? Realization comes from divinity to you without any intermediaries. You know, the script, your script, you call it the scripture. Your script says that God will do nothing except he first reveal it to his servants, the prophets. That's not the real God. Do you really think that the real God, do you really think that real divinity is not going to do anything for you, to you, through you, without telling some idiot that calls himself or some idiot that calls herself a prophet or prophetess? Are you telling me that? You're being so unsophisticated, and you are demonstrating how deep you are into Stockholm syndrome, and you're demonstrating how you are still infected by the fear and guilt, blood magic, trauma-based mind control matrix. And we're going to talk about that a little bit tonight. Folks, real divinity does not need an interpreter. Real divinity does not need some idiot that calls himself a prophet. Real divinity doesn't need some half-baked, silly girl that calls herself a prophetess. Divinity reaches out to you directly. So if you get your information from somebody else, you're just another baby bird eating another bird's barf. And I hate to say it, but you get what you deserve. You get what you deserve. It's just that simple. And I have a hard time feeling empathy for you. But what we found out by realization during that show was that this whole Petito silliness happened during Yom Kippur, the Jewish Day of Atonement, which is where they take 2 sacrificial goats and they confess the sins over 1 goat. And think about that. Everybody's sins gets placed on 1 goat. So everybody got off for free except for this one poor slob, right? But anyway, They confess the sins over this goat. They send this goat out into the wilderness. What did they do with Brian? They send Brian out into the wilderness. Brian is Azazel, the scapegoat. And then what do they do with the other goat? The other goat is offered as a burnt sacrifice. Gabby isn't a real person. She's the person you know is Gabby Petito, and we proved it just on Monday night. Go watch it. The real person, there is no real person as Gabby Petito. She's a crisis actress. She's a meme. And there was a person killed. We don't know who it is or who it was. There was a person killed, but the only thing that really matters here is they want you to think that Gabby Petito is real. Brian got sent into the wilderness. He's not real either. They want you to think he is real and that he did. Gabby got killed during the Yom Kippur Day of Atonement sacrificial ceremony. She was the lamb without spot or wrinkle. Oh, she's so cute and pretty. We love Gabby. Oh, Gabby. And then Gabby not only did she get killed, but she got burned. That's why they need dental records. Look at the data in the area where she was found dead. Multiple fires on the times that she was lost. Multiple fires during the time where she was found and lost. And they have to identify her by dental records when she's dead 2 weeks. It doesn't add up until it adds up. She's a placeholder for the burnt offering at Day of Atonement. Brian's a placeholder for the Azazel goat cast into the wilderness for the Day of Atonement. And here we go again. The Judeo-Christian merry-go-round takes another revolution. And on Monday night, we started with our new theme song, Shock to the System by Billy Idol. Shock to the System by Billy Idol. And I should have waited until I could actually do this with the video. And maybe at sometime we will do it without the video. But I want to talk for a minute about Billy Idol. Billy Idol writes virtually all of his music. Billy Idol writes himself. And I've talked before about people that are creative reaching into the ether. They're reaching into the ether. And they're pulling down information that's in the ether. Everybody says, oh, well, the movies and the songs are just there for disclosure. Well, that could be true. It might be true, but it's not always true. And I'm going to say, I've written 15 books. How many have you written? I put out 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 3, 6, 9, 12, 14 hours of broadcasting every week. How much do you put out? The point of the matter is, I understand more about writing and creating content than anybody I can think of. Anybody, I know more about writing and creating content than anybody else I can think of right now. So you might want to shut your mouth and listen for a change to somebody that's been there, done that, is doing that. And I'm telling you, if you'll shut up long enough to listen, that most of the time it's not these artists bringing disclosure. Most of the time, it's creative people who are constantly searching. In our dreams, we search for information. And you're constantly searching and scanning, and it's energy, and you're picking up on things in the ether and like, oh, that's good. You grab it. Sometimes you grab something that the cabal is talking about between themselves. And all of a sudden it looks like you broke, you told something that's going to happen in the future, and really you just grabbed it out of the ether as a creative person. That's usually how it works. And I forget who said this to me, but it was a male cousin. I'm sorry, I can't remember. But they said, I noticed that you started with the Billy Idol song, Shock to the System, because that's what we are, folks. We are a shock to the system. And I know this is just an aside, but I know that every time I play Shock to the System, YouTube's going to demonetize my program. So I won't get the little piddlings that they give because I'm choosing to play a song with Jeff. That's dumb because it doesn't matter. No, it sets the tone because we are a shock to the system. And we need to be a shock to this system. And we need to know that we're a shock to the system. We need to say that we're a shock to the system. And I don't need YouTube's pennies, nickels, quarters, and dimes as much as I need for you and the people that visit these channels to say, oh, shock to the system. I get it. Boom. Yeah. So Billy Idol also wrote a song called, and he wrote it in 1983. He wrote it in 1983. And it was called Eyes Without a Face. Think about it. Eyes without a face. And I didn't plan on doing this. I'm going to read these lyrics. I'm all out of hope. How many people, even cousins, right now, I'm all out of hope. One more bad break could bring a fall. He's talking about 2021, and he wrote it in 1983. When I'm far from home, don't call me on the phone to tell me you're alone. It's easy to deceive. It's easy to tease. Wow. Eyes without a face. Eyes without a face. Got no human grace. Your eyes without a face. Think about what you are when you're wearing the face diaper. Your eyes without a face. You are. Your eyes without a face. When you're wearing that face diaper, your eyes without a face. And this song goes on. I spend so much time believing all the lies because you spend time listening to liars. Why are you still watching the mainstream media? And why are you still watching these liars on the channels that you watch? You know they're lying to you. You're watching these people, you're trying to do your best, but you can't break the blood magic, fear and guilt, trauma-based mind control addiction that you have. You can't, that is sure sign that you're still addicted to the blood. You spend so much time believing all the lies while you say you're trying to, back to the lyrics, keep the dream alive. You have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, if I'm spending all this time believing the lies, am I really trying to keep the dream alive, or am I just fooling myself? Only you can answer that question. Now it makes me sad. Well, no kidding. You're watching the news media. You're listening to the fear porn, and you're surprised that you're sad? I'm surprised that you're sad, because as sure as 1 + 1 = 2, you're getting the result of what you do. It's just that simple. But it makes me feel sad. It makes I can't, maybe none of it's true, none of it's real. You know, if you were hitting yourself in the hand with a rubber mallet repeatedly, it would feel a lot better if you stopped. Your eyes without a face. You got no human grace. Your eyes without a face. Your eyes without a face. That's what Billy Idol saw back in 1983. He saw eyes without a face. He also said that he's on a bus on a psychedelic trip. That's the answer that some of you come up with. And then he talks about say your prayers. That's an answer that some of you come up with. Psychedelic trips and prayers will bring you the same results, which are nothing. Same results as waiting for revelation from some other person. And then at the close of the song, it says, now I close my eyes and I wonder why I don't despise. Talking about praying. He closes his eyes. He wonders why he doesn't despise this. He knows it's stupid. He knows it's baseless. He knows it's at the very least unproductive and probably leads to possession. And then he says, now all I can do is love what was once so alive and new, but it's gone from my eyes. I'd better realize I've become eyes without a face. Got no human grace. Such a human waste. Your eyes without a face. And the last line of the song. And now it's getting worse. Wow. That's really all you can say to that is wow. Wow, 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 wow. Amazing stuff. So, yeah, there's a connection. Yeah, there's a connection. There's an obvious connection. And you just have to be sharp enough to grab it. You just have to be sharp enough to grab that obvious connection. It's right there for the taking. It's right there for the grabbing. All you got to do is just grab it. It's yours. I can't see the Rockfin stream. I'm confident that it's still going out. I can see it going out here on StreamYard. So don't think I'm ignoring you. And it's probably good for me that I can't see some of the people in the chat room on Rockfin. We got trolls. Our trolls have trolls. But I want to talk about something tonight, and it's so funny because I got an email that said, Jeff, I can't find your shows on white Dianetics. They're so powerful. And some of you, did he just say, some of you, it was like, you know, how the record in the old days, you know, that needle, did he just say Dianetics? He did. You know, if you were planning to tank your channel, if you were planning to make people unsubscribe, if you were planning to make people doubt everything that you ever said, probably the best thing you could start talking about is Dianetics. Because everybody knows that Dianetics is bad. Everybody knows that Dianetics is evil. And everybody knows that everybody that's into Dianetics is a bad, evil, rotten person that just wants to steal your money. Right? Everybody knows that. And Mark Twain said, if you find yourself on the side of the majority, it's best to stop and reconsider. Why is Dianetics one of the very few things that everybody agrees is bad? Everybody agrees it's bad. Why would Dianetics be one of those things that everybody agrees is bad? Well, I am staking my reputation, I am staking my work on becoming the modern champion of what I call white Dianetics. White Dianetics. White Dianetics. And if you don't like it, go ahead and leave. It doesn't really bother me, because if you would leave over that, you don't have what it takes anyway. And we need the best of the best. I grew up in Clearwater, Florida. I was there when the Church of Scientology moved to Clearwater. And I knew a lot of people. I was never in the church, never would be in the church. It's a terrible church. You don't want to be a part of it. But I got exposed to some of the what they call tech. I got exposed to some of the tech. And I'm like, this really works. This really works. So I started studying it. I started investigating, and I started investigating L. Ron Hubbard. I started investigating the technology, and really what you don't understand about Scientology is, because you're too busy being reactionary, is that there's nothing original in Scientology. There's nothing original in Dianetics. Nothing. What Scientology and Dianetics is, and just to start you off, and we're going to start on our white Dianetics, and we're starting from the beginning again. Dianetics deals with your body, your mind, your body, your emotions, that which is physical. And Dianetics, white Dianetics, will teach you to get yourself to what's called a state of clear, where you will be optimized across all of the dynamics and all the paradigms of life. You will be optimized fully from top to bottom. And then Scientology takes it to the part of you that is incorporeal. And I know we got this fight. If you start talking about soul, oh no, you mean spirit. If you're talking about spirit, oh no, you mean soul. And you get this back and forth bickering about what's spirit and what's soul. It's a waste of time. So what white Dianetics, and we'll talk about it, what white Dianetics did was create another word, and it's called the thetan. Very simply put, the thetan is the part of you that is incorporeal, not physical. That's what Scientology, white Scientology, deals with. But first, you've got to get the physical in line, and that's what white Dianetics deals with. And I discovered that what L. Ron Hubbard did was study so many different theologies and teachings. He traveled the world, much like I've traveled the world. He spent over 40 years, much like I have, looking across the spiritual spectrum, from the most traditional conservative of mainstream religiosity to the very extreme fringes of new thought. And what he did, he had a saying, Dianetics is an adventure, and so is life. What he did was take the best of all the great systems of human thought, the things that were, and what his definition of the best was, does it work? And all white Dianetics is the best of all the aspects of the best of spiritual technology that humanity has ever discovered and beyond. That's all white Dianetics is. That's all white Scientology is. It is the most elegant, powerful collection of spiritual technologies that I have found in now over 41 years of research across the spiritual spectrum. And I would ask you, how many years have you researched? I've got over 100,000 hours just in the biblical text. How many you got? But then you look at the Church of Scientology and you realize that it is just as much a fear and guilt trauma-based mind control matrix as anything that Christianity ever produced. And it is, you're right. The Church of Scientology, the official Church of Scientology, Clearwater, Florida, is as dangerous as anything that there is on the face of this earth. It is set up to steal from you and to steal your potential. You should have nothing to do with it. It is black Dianetics. It is black Scientology. It is. And yet, when I mention Dianetics, I get the typical knee-jerk reactions. How can you concern yourself with Dianetics? Don't you know the evil Scientology sect is behind it? I just told you they're behind it. I just told you they're behind it. But let me tell you what you don't know. All of you, I want to keep saying idiots, but I won't. All of you that criticize me for talking about Jeff is so stupid. He talks about Dianetics, thinks he can call it white Dianetics. Don't you know about da 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 da? You don't know. You don't know. Let me give you a little bit of knowledge. I'm the mailman. I make deliveries. I bring you objective empirical information. I put it in your box. You can open it or not. Makes no difference to me. When the mailman drops a letter in your box, do you think he's driving down the next house and saying, oh, I hope Two Trees opens that letter. I hope Pedro opens that letter. I'm really, really praying that Dagger opens that letter. Do you think he gives a damn? No. The mailman's job is to deliver the mail. That's my job. I used to care. I used to fret. I used to worry. Oh, did 10,000 open that? Did Steve read it? I don't even think Steve can read. Did they open it? I don't care anymore. I bring you the information. I'm the mailman. If you're worried about whether somebody else read it, you're taking away effectiveness and you won't be able to get as much mail out. So after the Second World War, L. Ron Hubbard was confined to the Oak Knoll Marine Hospital to deal with injuries that he suffered in the Navy. In the Navy. He commanded not one but two naval vessels. Now, any dummy can command one naval vessel. You can fall into that. But two, you can't be a complete dummy and command two naval vessels. But anyway, Hubbard was hurt on active duty in the United States Navy. And while he was at Oak Knoll Marine Hospital recovering from his injuries, he was busy studying and working on an investigation into the potential of the human mind. And starting in 1947, he started developing the fundamentals of what he would call Dianetics from having sessions with people, traumatized soldiers, colleagues that were in pain, people that were suffering from incurable cases. He was just doing this on his own time. And he started being so effective, in fact, 100% effective. And that's the best thing about white Dianetics. It is 100% effective. I said 100% effective. And the guys in the hospital started saying, wait a minute, this dude was a wreck. What happened to him? Oh, he went and saw Lieutenant Hubbard. Lieutenant Hubbard's got this new therapy. It's not really therapy, but Lieutenant Hubbard's got this new thing he's doing. And it cured the guy. Oh, really? Well, send him this other guy that's a wreck. So Oak Knoll Marine Hospital started sending all of their worst cases to Lieutenant Hubbard. And every single one of the worst cases, they've been psychologized up one side, down the other. They've been analyzed up one side, down the other. They've been electroshocked. They've been doing all of that. All of that. and they were not getting any better. In fact, they were getting worse. And Lieutenant Hubbard was making a cure on every single one of them. 100%. 100%. They were sending him the worst, most incurable cases, and he was getting them healed 100%. 100%. Can you imagine that? Well, on the other side of the very Oak Knoll Marine Hospital, there was another group that was at work on understanding the human mind. And they took great notice of the fact that Hubbard was able to get these amazing results from the incurable. From the incurable. And so they saw what he was doing. And they called him in and they said, Lieutenant Hubbard, what you're doing is amazing. We want you to stop. Lieutenant Hubbard's like, what? We want you to stop because what we're doing over here, and you just happen to stumble into this, Lieutenant, you know nothing about it. Lieutenant, we're over here trying to invent a way to control people's minds, not free their minds. We're here trying to invent a way that we can implant suggestions into people's minds so that we can activate those suggestions later. We're calling it MK Ultra, and your work, if we could just have you reverse engineer it, will give us exactly what we want. Exactly what we want. And Lieutenant Hubbard said, no, I'm trying to free people's minds, and you want to take my technology and you want to use it to enslave people. I won't do it. And they said, okay, if you won't do it, then you are going to lose all of your retirement, all of your benefits. So Hubbard had a choice. He could do what they said. He could retire from the Navy and shut his mouth, because if you retire and you're getting that pension, and as a lieutenant in the Navy, that's a sizable pension. But it comes with a string. You can't talk against the Navy or you lose your pension. Or you can just resign your commission, say keep your money, and talk all you want to talk. This is what General George S. Patton had decided to do. General Patton did not retire from the Army. General Patton resigned from the Army. Why? Because he planned to tell the tale of the traitor, Dwight D. Eisenhower, of the murderer, Dwight D. Eisenhower, and of the capitulation of the United States and the West to the Zadokim, communistic, Zionistic people that took over the world. So Hubbard quit the Navy. And in the, I forget, I think it was 60 days, some remarkable amount of time, he wrote this huge book, the book called Dianetics. It's over 500 pages, and he wrote it in like 60 days, and I've written 15 books, and that's like, how do you do it? But he wrote it, and he published it, and it went to the top of the New York Times bestsellers list, and the Navy couldn't contain it anymore. They couldn't keep a lid on it. But did the Navy stop at their MK Ultra? No. So here's the point. MK Ultra, which none of you in the truth movement doubt the reality of. Oh no, Jeff, MK Ultra is real. Oh no, Jeff, MK Ultra, it's out there. Oh, Jeff, MK Ultra works. Yes, MK Ultra works. MK Ultra is very, very effective. You idiots in the truth movement, with one side of your crooked, lousy, filthy mouths, will say, oh yes, MK Ultra works. MK Ultra is very effective. MK Ultra, oh yes, it's real. And with the other side of your uninformed, ignorant mouths, will say Dianetics is a joke. Dianetics is a scam. Listen, MK Ultra is Dianetics. It's black Dianetics. And let me ask you geniuses a question. Let me ask you geniuses a question. You're all certain that MK Ultra works. You all spend hours and hours and hours on your stupid shows talking about how effective MK Ultra is. That's black Dianetics. If the black works, if the copy works, if the thing that is reverse engineered works, then dummy, the white Dianetics works too. But you won't admit that because it'll put you all out of business. The proof of the effectiveness of MK Ultra, we just did Gabby Petito and Brian. That's MK Ultra. It works. It's powerful. It's effective. Why? Because it's based on white Dianetics, which is just as real and more powerful and more effective. Only it heals where white Dianetics or where black Dianetics or MK Ultra enslaves. So the OSS, the Office of Strategic Services, the forerunner to the CIA, wanted to take Dianetics from L. Ron Hubbard. L. Ron Hubbard said, no, won't give it to you. L. Ron Hubbard said no to the military industrial complex. L. Ron Hubbard outmaneuvered them, resigned his commission, turned away all that money, and in 6 weeks, he wrote and published the book Dianetics, almost 600 pages, so it could not be kept secret. And it could not be used to the detriment of mankind. Unbelievable. Staggering information. And all you have to do is study it, look it up to prove that it's true. And if you don't have the integrity, and if you don't have the ability to do that, then we don't care about you because there's too many people that we need to help. And we're not going to waste any more time with you. We're not going to waste any more time with you. It's just that simple. And the Dianetics book immediately went to the top of the New York Times bestsellers list. And it remained there for 2 years. It remained there for 2 years. And it sold over 83 million copies. It sold over 83 million copies. The book has been translated into over 50 languages. It has a total circulation of over 83 million copies, as I've said. It's amazing. It's powerful. And you can either change your life or you cannot change your life. It's up to you. But I'm telling you how to change your life. I'm showing you something that can change your life. So how did we get from where L. Ron Hubbard was to where we are now? How did we get to this? Well, Ron was becoming so effective with his Dianetics. He was becoming so effective with it that the cabal had to fight back because he was literally going to change the world. And what they did was in 1972, the CIA kidnapped L. Ron Hubbard. In 1972, the CIA kidnapped L. Ron Hubbard. That's right. I said it, and I can prove it. In 1972, the CIA kidnapped L. Ron Hubbard. And they also launched an attack on Dianetics and Scientology. And it became so bad that Hubbard actually lost his patent, not his patent, but his copyright. He lost his copyright to Dianetics. He lost his copyright. And because he lost his copyright, the church that we know now was able to take over the information. So what did Hubbard do? He went and made all of the information the public domain so it could no longer be hidden. Everything that he had copyright rights and access to, he put it out into the commercial domain, public domain. It's like, WordStar and these other programs. They'll do the same thing that the Microsoft programs will do, only you don't have to pay Microsoft. It's open domain. That's what Hubbard did to it. So this idea that Hubbard was just out to make money isn't true. And when you hear people say that Hubbard was just out to make money, you can know that they are either knowingly or unknowingly pitching the cabal propaganda. When you hear people say, L. Ron Hubbard said that if he could create a religion, he'd make $1 million. Well, L. Ron Hubbard didn't say that. Robert Heinlein said that, not L. Ron Hubbard. L. Ron Hubbard, he was a friend of Aleister Crowley. They ate babies together. No, they didn't. L. Ron Hubbard never met Aleister Crowley. Never. And in fact, Aleister Crowley hated L. Ron Hubbard and told Jack Parsons to stay away from him. Aleister Crowley was scared to death of L. Ron Hubbard because Aleister Crowley knew that Ron and what Ron was up to. I don't care what you said, what you think, what you heard. I've done the research. You haven't. L. Ron Hubbard never met Aleister Crowley. Aleister Crowley hated L. Ron Hubbard. Aleister Crowley warned Jack Parsons away from L. Ron Hubbard. He warned Jack Parsons away from L. Ron Hubbard. This is the truth. This is the reality. This is what's really going on. This is what is really the truth about all of this. And you can either examine the truth, look at the truth, and try to benefit from the truth and change your life and become who you want to be, or you can ignore it and continue to live like you're living. So, one thing that's very, very important for you to know is that if you look into Scientology, don't. If you want to look into Dianetics, don't. And I'm going to tell you why. Because anything that's written after 1972 is poison. Poison. You've got to get your hands on pre-1972 writings exclusively, because that's when he was kidnapped, literally kidnapped by the CIA. The CIA operative, David Miscavige, was placed in charge of Scientology, and we've got what we have today. We've got what we have today. So what I'm doing, and I'm in the midst of it right now, and I'm going to redouble my efforts and work hard on it. I am rewriting Dianetics. And I guess my working title is White Dianetics, Dianetics for a New Generation. Because Ron Hubbard is a great writer, but he wrote it in the late 40s and 1950. And the language is a bit archaic. We don't talk that way anymore. We don't understand that way anymore. We don't think that way anymore. So, as hard as it was for me, for years, people have been saying, do this, Jeff, do this, Jeff. But I couldn't even imagine being audacious enough. Well, I couldn't even imagine being arrogant enough to think that I could rewrite Dianetics and improve the most important book about mental health and the human mind that's ever been written. Who was I to do that? But then I realized that I needed to be audacious enough to do it. So we're rewriting Dianetics, and we're rewriting it in a more understandable language, and we're kind of condensing it a bit. Ron was very loquacious. I enjoy his writing, but there's sometimes you would ask, I could just imagine asking L. Ron Hubbard what time it was, and Ron would tell you how to build a beautiful, incredible Swiss watch. Well, thanks, Ron, but I just wanted to know what time it was. So sometimes Ron got a little loquacious, if you know what I mean. Sometimes he got a little loquacious. So we're kind of condensing it. And I have to admit, I'm adding in some things that I think are improvements. Not really improvements, but just little of this, little of that. So White Dianetics for a New Generation, it's going to be out as soon as we get it out. And it'll all be pre-1972. And then we're going to go to Dianetics Dianetics Today, rewrite that. It's almost 1,000 pages. We're going to do self-analysis, which teaches you how to audit yourself. We have to do it. We have to do it. And we have to do it because it's the greatest spiritual technology that has ever been given to humanity. And it was so good that not only did they have to pervert it, but it was so good that they were able to use it to create the ultimate evil, MK Ultra. Think about that, folks. White Dianetics was so good that they were able to use it and reverse engineer it to create MK Ultra. And none of you have any doubt that MK Ultra works. You should have zero doubt. Likely, you should have as much trust in White Dianetics as you have in MK Ultra. Because White Dianetics is the purity from which perverted MK Ultra comes. Two Trees makes a great point. He says many, and actually most of your physical ailments will clear as well. It's true. When you start getting clear by application of White Dianetics, almost all of your physical ailments will go away, because you know that even doctors say that about 80% of human ailments are psychosomatic. That means it's in your head. And when you get the mind right, 80% of your ailments will go away. And it's a really, really interesting thing. And I used to make a joke about this, because in the Church of Scientology, the bad one, Black Dianetics, it seems like every one of them smokes and cusses like a sailor. But it's also very, very common that when you start getting clear, your vision improves. Your vision improves. So I would joke and say, yeah, your vision improves, but then you start smoking and cussing. And that's only true in black Dianetics. But your vision does improve. It's just one of the things that improves. One of the things that improves, ladies and gentlemen. Is this a way to build my channel? Probably not. Is this a way to tank my channel? Absolutely. Is this a way to ruin any credibility that I have? Absolutely, it is. But what it really is a science of mind that will set people free. It's not hypnotism, it's not psychology. And think about where hypnotism and psychology come from. Well, this comes from someplace completely different. Think about the mass media. You know who the mass media are, right? You know what the mass media does? You know who runs the mass media, who owns the mass media? And what is the one thing that you can count on from the mass media? There are Scientology, Dianetics are one of the only things that you know the media is going to be against. The media is always going to be against Dianetics. The media is always going to be against Scientology. Isn't that amazing? There's a massive smear campaign by the mass media. And do you know who funds most of the mass media? Big Pharma. Look, if people don't need all the pharmaceuticals anymore, the money's gone. Big Pharma cannot allow white Dianetics to become known. The media cannot allow white Dianetics to become known. Because if it does, the chronic illnesses and ailments will be quickly eliminated. Free of side effects, cost effective, and the hundreds of billions of dollars in drugs and quote unquote therapy will be gone. They will be gone. And there's another reason why they can't afford to let us make white Dianetics known, because white Dianetics removes forever the thought that it's just this, you're just an animal, it's just this life, and then you die and it's all over. Because as you get into white Dianetics, one of the things that fascinated Ron, one of the things that shocked Ron, in fact, was that it became undeniable that people experience past lives. It's undeniable that people experience past lives. And another thing that we're discovering now is that not only is it undeniable that people experience past lives, it looks very much like we might even experience parallel lives. And that aberrations from another life can affect you in this life. Aberrations from another you might be able to affect this you. Oh, yeah. It's deep. It's powerful. And here's the thing, cousins. If an aberration, which is, we'll call it for now, a demon circuit, something that makes you do what you don't want to do. Remember Paul? Oh, that which I would do, I don't, but that which I would not do, that is what I do. That's called an aberration, which tells you that back in the mid-first century, they knew all about white Dianetics. And they were trying to preempt Ron figuring it out so you would figure it out. They knew about it back in the mid-first century. But here's the exciting thing. If aberrations from a past life can affect you in this life, then the power and the clear parts of your past lives can also be leveraged in this present life. You can gain strength in this life from leveraging your victorious over all dynamics in prior lives. And most of you people, even the chuckleheads on YouTube, will admit that there's a multiverse, right? Oh, there's a multiverse. Absolutely. What if you could get yourself cleared, not only across all the dynamics in this world, but what if you could get yourself cleared across other dimensions as well? And then you could leverage all of your power, not just in this life, but all of your power in all of your lives and all of your power in all of your manifestations across dimensionality. Boom. Ken asks, can aberrations from a future life affect this life? I haven't pondered that yet. That's a fascinating question, Ken. That's a fascinating question. It really is. In the work that I've done in white Dianetics, it surprises me to find that over half the time, and we're getting deep into terminology. I don't want to try to put the cart before the horse, but there's a thing called basic. And basically, basic is that first big aberration that got you where you are. And the amazing thing is that you don't have to go aberration through your whole life to get rid of them. I mean, some people that aren't very skillful do that. That's the slow way, the bad way. You may never get the job done. What you do is you look for basic. Because when you find basic and you clear basic, it's like a domino. Clearing basic, clearing that first aberration causes all the rest of them to clear. Bam. So you're looking for the seed. You're looking for the first domino that fell. And over half the time, in my experience, and Ron concurs with this, he says more than half the time, that basic is in the womb. In the womb. And I've got a sneaky suspicion that a lot of it might even be before the womb, in another life, a prior life. And because we know that time is not sequential, time is not linear. Do you know, and if you don't know, you'll have something new to think about. Did you know that time, it ain't a healer, oh, it's just a friend. No, but did you know that time, all the time that's ever been is here right now? It's like radio stations. You can tune into KYAH, or you can tune into Q105. Tune in, they're all there. But you just pick up the one you tuned into. Ken says, can the future? Well, the future's already here. This is the future. It's all right here, right now. From the womb to the tomb and beyond. You can tap into everything right now. And if you can be affected by it, and I think that we've proven, I think that we know instinctively, intuitively, that you can be affected by your past. And if you can be affected by your past, if you can live at effect from your past, which means like a dead fish floating down the stream, then you can also live at cause in your past. You can take the causal victories of the past just as surely as you can suffer from the aberrations of the past. Think about that. So if all time is here right now, and I think most of us would agree with that, then it's all at our access. It's all at our ability. And as Two Trees says, you can take it and manifest your future. That's what it's all about. And I love these chuckleheads that'll say, it's prophecy. It's written. What's written must come to pass. And then the next show, they talk about how you can manifest your life and manifest your future. Well, listen, both of those can't be true. One's right and one's wrong. Either you can manifest your present, you can manifest your future, or it's all pre-planned from a dusty old 2,000-year-old book, rewritten umpteen times, and most lately in 1611 by a homosexual king and a band of pedophiles, perverts, and aristocrats. Now you have something new to think about. You're listening to Late Night in the Heartland. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, coming to you live from Rapid City, South Dakota. And, I want you to know that I didn't think this up on my own, because in September of 1951, L. Ron Hubbard gave a lecture on Black Dianetics. And the first basic principle of Black Dianetics, so long as there is a natural phenomenon, remains the knowledge of a few and denied to the many, it can be utilized to control the many. What does that remind you of? Here's the first basic principle of Black Dianetics. So long as a natural phenomenon remains the knowledge of a few and is denied to the many, it can be utilized to control the many. That's the way that life has always been from the beginning. And we know who is controlling it and utilizing it. Black Dianetics, think about who this reminds you of. Black Dianetics is in the business of making sure that they're the only ones that understand something. It's almost like they think they're the chosen people. Black Dianetics practitioners think they are the chosen people. They're the chosen ones. They're the chosen people. Only they get to know this. And they have to keep everybody else ignorant of it. And because they are the chosen people, they are the ones that are going to control everybody else. That's insane. And we live in a world of insanity. And in order to fix insanity, the first thing you have to do is unleash the natural laws that have been discovered in Dianetics, unleash what the cabal knows and use to create MK Ultra, unleash it so all the people can see it and know it and discover it through white Dianetics. When you understand how it's possible to create insanity at will, which MK Ultra can, listen to me, people in the truth community, so-called truth community. You know that insanity can be created, and it can be created at will. Look at Petito. Look at Brian. We can name 1,000 people, right? You know insanity can be created. instantly and at will. You know that complete control of a human being can be affected without the person even knowing that they're crazy, and most of the time without them even acting like they're crazy. Complete control of a human being can be accomplished without insanity being demonstrated by that person. You've seen it happen all the time. So when we are successful in sharing this knowledge of what MK Ultra is and that it is black Dianetics, we will be able to prevent the future infection of black Dianetics. But as long as black Dianetics and MK Ultra remains the property of the very few, the chosen people, a very great many more will suffer. It's amazing. It's amazing. Here's a quote from L. Ron Hubbard. Did you ever read poor old George Orwell's 1984? Yes, that's wonderful. That would be, could be, the palest imagined shadow of what a world would be like under the rule of the secret use of black Scientology with no remedy in existence. And if you ever do use any black Dianetics, use it on the guy who pulled Scientology out of sight and made it so it wasn't available, because he's the boy who would be electing himself the new world order. This was spoken in 1952. Billy Idol, L. Ron Hubbard pulling stuff down. We don't need any more new orders. All those orders, as far as I'm concerned, have been filled. Wow. This is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm talking about this. This is why I'm doing this, and this is why I'm talking about this. And let me share this with you for the people that say it's all about money and Hubbard was just trying to make money. Well, in 1955, after Dianetics was stolen from Ron, he was able to stop it from ever happening to him again. Of course, this was a long process that culminated in 72 with his abduction. But they were able to work on it and steal it from him, and he lost the copyright. And I told you about this a little bit. But what he did was in 1955, he said, look, if they tried it once, they'll try it again. And I could really be worried about my money, and I could really be worried about my dollars, and I could really be worried about anybody using Dianetics has got to pay me, or I can make sure that it can never be made secretive again. So what he did was founded a nonprofit organization called the Hubbard Association of Scientologists International, and he bequeathed all of his intellectual property to that organization. The Hubbard Association of Scientologists International was not allowed to be involved in the delivery of Dianetics and Scientology in the form of books, courses, or even auditing, but was a pure membership organization to ensure the protection of Scientology and Dianetics. That meant that the Hubbard Association of Scientologists International could not be declared bankrupt, because those who do nothing make no mistakes, and thus the danger of a hostile takeover was prevented. Basically, what Ron did was granted all people everywhere that want to use this technology the right to use it, and the right to use the writings, and the right to use the lectures. And he did it officially on November 15th, 1958, when he said that anybody and everybody can use it. It's part of the public domain, and that nobody can ever claim a public or a copyright on it again. Everyone is allowed to use this information and this knowledge for the improvement of life. Does that sound like a guy that's trying to make money? It sounds like a guy that's trying to do the opposite. The opposite. And we'll transition to this, and we got to get out of here pretty quickly. Ron was a student, and students learn. Ron realized that as great as Dianetics was, as great as white Dianetics was, white Dianetics alone isn't enough. You can take care of your body, your mind. You can take care of everything that's here, corporeal, physical, that we can see. You can take care of that. You can get clear, but we're not just a physical being. We're not just a physical being. And, you know, I have said for a lot of years that you're divine, you're sovereign, and you're free. And I didn't realize this until I started rewriting this book that Ron had been saying that for a long time, not exactly in those words. But in 1965, LRH took it to another level, and he developed the clearing course, which is a study which one can learn to audit themselves. Well, wait a minute. I thought they were in the business to make money auditing. So if you're in the business to make money auditing, why would you make it easy for anybody to audit themselves that had the tenacity, the talent, the ability, and the time? Now, they would still help audit those that wanted it or needed it. But if you're trying to make a bunch of money, you don't give away your copyrights. If you're trying to make a bunch of money, you don't teach people how to clear themselves and not need auditing. You don't do that. You don't do that. So Ron created this clearing course, and it's in a book called Self-Analysis, and we'll rewrite that one. And it teaches you by yourself on your own to reach this state of clear, which I call divine, sovereign, and free. Being divine, sovereign, and free and being clear is the same exact thing, different languages. And I didn't even realize that until now, this very moment. And this really works. I can testify to it myself. Dianetics can help make you very close to divine, sovereign, and free. But there's more. There's more. Because you're not just a physical being, are you? You're a physical being and you're a spiritual being. So there's more to do. Have you ever wanted to be a superhero? Have you ever wanted to be Superman, X-Man, one of those things? Actually, once you become clear, once you have dealt with your body, then you can begin to move into your thetan. And that's when we get into a little thing called Scientology. Dianetics takes care of the physical. Scientology takes care of the thetan. And it's all been written for you to do it yourself. But it's been hidden, and it's been suppressed, and it's been oppressed, and it's been repressed. We're about to repress it too. Repress, rewrite, republish. We're going to battle against the fake Scientology church. Unless you have any wonders about what I think about the official Scientology church, let me just repeat myself a bit. The official church today of Scientology, headquartered in Clearwater, Florida, was commissioned and is and continues to be financed by the Central Intelligence Agency. and the extraordinary capabilities of a true Dianetically cleared and Scientology operating Thetan were first demonstrated in full in 1972. And an operating Thetan can, you've heard me say it, be 3 feet behind your own head. And then you know that it's not just mumbo jumbo, it's real. And by the way, that's a little thing called remote viewing. I know a lot of you love Far Side, and a lot of you love the crypto viewers. They started that. The original remote viewers, the best ones, were Scientologists. Look it up, it's true. Look it up, it's true. Ingo Swann, Hal Puthoff, Pat Price. They learned and honed their abilities in the 1960s in Ron's Church of Scientology, White Dianetics, got clear, became operating Thetans. But the CIA stepped in and prevented white Scientology from proving its effectiveness and gaining further popularity. And the fact that with remote viewing, it's impossible to hide any secrets from Scientologists has caused panic and red alert among secret services. I'm reading from Ron's book. For the world domination of a self-proclaimed elite, Ron says he calls this gang of criminals a cabal. I use the same words, didn't even know it. For the world domination of a self-proclaimed elite, who we call a gang of criminals and a cabal, it's based on the true conspiracy and serious crimes on the scale of the JFK murder or the demolition of the towers in New York. This is actually written by Andreas, who is a great author trying to do sort of what we're doing. Andreas, in typical fashion, doesn't even have his name on the front of the book. What a great guy he is. He's very humble. And I can't even remember his last name, but we'll find it out and we'll give it to you. It's the same elite. It's the same cabal. And the whole propaganda that true Dianetics and true Scientology are only about money making is intended to deter gullible people. And you know what? I hope it does. If that's where your mind is, then you are not at a place where you can become Dianetically clear anyway. If that's where your mind is, you certainly can't become an operating Thetan. So if that's where your mind is, please don't waste my time, and please don't waste yours. Please don't waste yours. Now, let me just conclude with a little bit on how I know it's a strange claim that L. Ron Hubbard was kidnapped, but L. Ron Hubbard was, in fact, taken out of circulation in 1972. And then Scientology was taken over by sleeper agents who had worked their way through the Scientology hierarchy for years. Hubbard's writings and Scientology practices were completely rewritten in the 14 years following 1972 and manipulated to the point of ineffectiveness, and worse, I'll add, worse than ineffective, dangerous. Today, one can confidently say that today's fake Dianetics and fake Scientology are a 180-degree reversed version of the original. Thus, you can't afford to be reading those books that are post 1972. And with the simple application of standard Dianetics, success can be achieved in at least 80% of all cases. I've seen 100% effectiveness. And in 1972, Ron developed expanded Dianetics, which is a highly refined method with well-trained auditors that can push you up to another 20% to get you real close to 100. So we're on the same page. That's what I know. That's what I've learned. That's what I've used, is that expanded Dianetics That's why I can say 100% effectiveness. And Andrea said the same thing here. It's amazing, ladies and gentlemen. But Ron disappeared while still working on expanded Dianetics on June 7th, 1972, and he never came back to it. The last unquestionable sign of life, the last sign of life we have for the real L. Ron Hubbard was an audio recorded on April 7th, 1972. And expanded Dianetics has remained an unfinished work. Maybe Andreas, myself, the only two I know of, maybe we're here to try to finish that work. Maybe we're here to try to finish that work. But Ron, it's so interesting because this was in 1972, and we see this today, and we know it's commonplace today. But back then, I mean, it was, even in his abduction, Ron was a pioneer. What are you talking about, Jeff? Well, when they abducted Ron, over the next 14 years, they used look-alike doubles. And then they killed him off in 1986. So if you have these look-alike doubles, you can have people say, oh, yeah, I saw him. People are still seeing Elvis. People, that's how Hillary Clinton can be at two different campaign stops simultaneously. Oops. That's why there's at least 4 Joe Bidens and a couple of Trumps. However, these reports reflect a completely changed LRH, not the same guy. And if you look close, it's not the same Joe. It's not the same Donnie. It's not the same Hillary. And interestingly enough, as we look at the man in the White House today, LRH seemed senile and suffered from accidents and illnesses. And as Two Trees pointed out, when you're Dianetically cleared, you don't have accidents anymore. You don't have illnesses anymore. And I'm going to go back. Okay, this is really good because I want to talk about, and we got to get out of here, what happened to me last night. This is a perfect example of what happens when you're Dianetically cleared. And my wife can't figure this out. And she's probably in there shaking her head right now because these things happen. They don't happen. They almost happen. And I am completely unfazed. And she's about to lose her mind because, well, she's an empathic person and might give a damn busted a while back. But this is just an example. We're driving our truck and we're pulling a 35-foot travel trailer. Okay. And this was like my 3rd time pulling it. So I'm not an expert, to say the very least. And we pulled into a gas station that was, shall we say, a little tight. And I should have took a picture. Cynthia, I don't know why we didn't take any pictures, but we got somewhere where it was like it was impossible for this to happen. Impossible for this to happen. But nothing happened. But somehow, because there wasn't enough room, and I'm pulling this trailer, not very good at it, we got, at the gas pump, they have those big cement blocks and the bars, and somehow I still don't even know how it happened. We got almost hung up on one of these cement blocks, but never touched it. I mean, you could not have picked, if it was a Tonka toy, you couldn't have picked that trailer up and that truck and placed it in that position with any more exactitude. You couldn't have done it. You couldn't have fit a piece of paper between our trailer and this cement block. this great big huge cement barrier. You couldn't have put, I mean, I'm not being, I'm not using hyperbole. You literally couldn't have got a piece of paper in there. You couldn't have got a piece of paper in there. You could not have put a sheet of paper between the camper and the concrete pylon, says Cynthia. And I mean, I didn't go in there slow. I wheeled that baby in there. Boom. I jump out. I'm pumping gas and diesel. And Cynthia's like, oh my God. I see her melting down. I'm like, what the? And then I look back and I'm like, oh my God. But the point is that I'm a Dianetic clear. I'm an operating Thetan. And I didn't hit it. It was impossible for me not to hit it. It was impossible for me not to wreck the trailer, but I didn't. And then it was impossible to get out of there. It was impossible. There's no way we couldn't have got out. We got out. Not so much as a scratch. Not so much as it never touched the concrete pylon. Now, it took 45 minutes. But the point is, when you're a Dianetic clear, when you're an operating Thetan, you don't have accidents. You don't get sick. Very rarely. So I did not have an accident. Jeff, are you saying that was because you're Dianetic clear? I just give you the evidence. I'm just presenting the facts. To this day, Cynthia's laying in there right now thinking it was impossible. And it really was. There's no way that what happened could have happened. No way that what happened could have happened. And I forget what city we were in. It was a pilot, and it was somewhere east of Rapid City, South Dakota. And there were two great employees that came out and helped us. Stop, go, stop, no, Now, I will make an admission. They did have to push in the plastic fender a little bit so I could get past the very corner. Just a little bit, it's a little bit. And they like pushed it with their pinkies. It was little, very easy. Now, you have to take another step to that, right? You have to take another step to that. The fact that you're dynamically cleared and operating Thetan is going to keep you from having accidents, even when you do stupid shit. And I did stupid. I didn't, because I got a little arrogant. I thought, oh, we can make it. No, you can't make it. So just because you are dynamically clear, just because you're an operating Thetan, doesn't mean you can, doesn't give you license to do stupid things. So I do the appropriate thing. Thank goodness for being an operating Thetan. Thank goodness for being dynamically clear. It helped prevent me from having an accident. And Cynthia is very empathetic. And I mean, she almost fell out. She was almost melting down. She did a great job. She held it together, but I could tell she was, oh my God. How, what are we going to do? There's all this, and I'm telling you, folks, I bet my pulse never went up a beat. That's one of the things that being clear and OT can do for you. Ooh, that was stupid. I shouldn't have done that. But I instantly say, I didn't hit anything. And it rolled in that way. So all I got to do is roll it out exactly the same way, which is what I did. Never touched the wheel. I just rolled it back the same exact way it came in. And guess what? As soon as I got past that little thing, it was all good. But it took 45 minutes. So there's always things to learn. There's always room for improvement. I mean, even superheroes make mistakes, right? So you got to be smart. And I learned a lesson. From now on, I go in the truck part. And I know I'm going to make a trucker mad someday, maybe, but that doesn't matter. I'll tell him, hey, look, man, I learned a lesson. I got to be very, very wide. Two trees would have paid to watch. I got to go wide. I thought I was going wide, man. Joy says she drove a 44.6 foot bus coach. I know you had to swing wide, Joyce, but you got to swing wider than you think. I thought I was wide, Joyce, but I wasn't wide enough. Now I'm like wide. I mean, wide. I'm like John Hagee wide. I'm like wide. And I go into the truck filling up part. I'm not going into the gas part anymore. So you got to be smart too. You got to be smart too. Wow. Wow. And I got to say this. Every time I travel, I only go to Love's, Pilot, and Flying J. I only go to those. And I talk to people there, and most of them there are truckers. And I'm telling you, man, some of you don't like truckers. Truckers are the best. I love our truckers. I love the men, the women that are our truckers. You don't understand what they're doing for you. You don't eat. You don't have clothes. They make our life possible. When you're on the road, give them the right of way. Don't pass on the inside of them. Don't run up on their bumpers. Don't mess with them. Let them go, man. They're making your life work. Give those people the respect they deserve. They're at work. Give them some room, man. Give them some room. Show them some respect. Help them get your groceries to the store so you can buy them. Help them get your clothes to wherever you buy clothes. Help them get your medicines. They're taking all the stuff that you need to where you need to get it from. Get out of their way and let them do it. Get out of their way and let them do it. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. We don't have any fancy song to leave with tonight. All we got is you're divine, you're sovereign, and you're free. You're the last generation of real humans. And I salute you for being here, seeking after truth. I just saluted you. You didn't see it, but I did. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, your Christian whistleblower, your mailman. And you are the last generation of real humans. And we will win. We'll see you again tomorrow night with more broadcast. Excellence.